All right, what is on the agenda for today? What I'm going to do is, I have terrible shoulder mobility. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing some mobility work and some deep tissue sort of flossing. I'm going to use a, let's see what we got here. I'm going to use a lacrosse ball. Put the lacrosse ball down. I'm going to use a foam roller. Save that. I also got another foam roller I can use if I need to get into like a more specific area. So basically, I'm going to show you what we're working with. I have very bad mobility internally and externally in my shoulders, which when you're doing CrossFit things like ring dips and Olympic lifting and muscle ups and all that other stuff, the more mobile you are, the less chance of injury you're gonna have. Not to mention your technique and everything will be a lot better too. So that's one of the coolest things I've learned from CrossFit is, I guess not necessarily learned, but they do spend quite a bit of time in classes and out of classes, pre and post workouts, really focusing on mobility. That's one thing that I spent, probably a reason why my mobility is not so good, is I spent about a year and a half, starting at a Fit for Less gym, which was an amazing gym. But I mean, I did warm up and stuff like that, but I never really spent any time stretching. I would do a lot of bench press, a lot of shoulder press, a lot of deadlifts and squats, like a lot more powerlifting style and bodybuilding, and just so much pushing and pulling, and just never stretched afterwards. I just, came home, went to sleep, and I sleep on my stomach with my head underneath the pillow, or I sleep on my side with my shoulder internally rotated. And so everything's just kind of forward, right? So I have a lot of tightness throughout my front delts and my chest. I have a hard time getting my posture nice and back. So I'm gonna just show you something that I'm working on right now while I have a little bit of free time. So yeah, here's some of the stretches. And before we start, I'm gonna show you currently what we're working with, just so you can see how bad. I have really bad internal rotation on my right shoulder. I don't know if it's from a hockey injury or throwing baseballs, or I must have tweaked it somewhere when I was younger and just never fixed it, and so it's really bad. So this is not something that I'm gonna fix today or tomorrow or the next day, but this is something, if I keep tackling, that hopefully we can get it better. So I'll show you where we're at so far. Flat on my back, shoulders up, left arm rotates, and I stop. I feel like ideally I'd want to be able to touch my palm to the ground, but it gets to about 45 degrees. So that's not very good. This arm, hardly even moved. As soon as I get going, this shoulder wants to lift and rotate, and everything comes forward. So together, foam roller, okay? I'm just gonna foam roll like up and down my back, nice and slow, with my hands over my head, fully stretched out. And I'm gonna go up and down my lats and try to just sort of get as mobile as possible before I start digging in with the lacrosse ball. So I'm trying to just tack down any fibers that are like, whenever I find like a knot or a sore spot, I sort of like put my weight down on top of the fibers and sort of floss across, trying to break up any adhesions or any knots to try to get a little bit more mobility. Now we're going to take the lacrosse ball, and I'm going to put it right on the inside, right where, because a lot of times when my shoulder's internally rotated, it's really tightening up this area. So I want to be able to get my shoulder back, so I'm going to place the lacrosse ball right in here, and I'm going to roll it up and down my pec and across just underneath the collarbone. I'm gonna try to loosen this up so I get my shoulder back. Just so you know, like you should be able to take, I should be able to lie like this, lift this arm up and put it behind my back. But it's so hard to do. Now I'm keeping my arm straight and I'm bringing the ball into my front delt and I'm rolling it down, and kind of feels like I'm flicking over top of a rope. It just so tight. Shouldn't feel like a rope. So left arm, so last time we went from 90 degrees and we got to about 45, okay? So the left arm. So now we're probably, what, about 30 degrees left now? Probably gained about 15 degrees of motion if I use my hand a little bit. I would say maybe from 90, last time I got to about there, I gained maybe 5 more degrees. 90, 80, yeah, maybe 10 more degrees on that one as well. So this one is obviously far worse. I need to, my goal for this one is to get to 45, which would be about there, but now my shoulder's off the ground, so. Okay, so with the assistance, I'm gonna casually push this one down until I feel it's like tight. I don't wanna hurt anything. I'm gonna hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, bring it back. Try to go a little further. Push a little bit. 1, 2, 3, back off. 1, 2, 3. All right, with a little bit of work, now I'm gonna show you the left arm after those holds. And I can almost get my palm to the ground now. Down. So there is a 20-minute way to increase your shoulder mobility. I gotta do it more often. So that's the game plan while I rehab the knee, work on shoulder mobility.